Good morning, YouTube. It is the Ushanka here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a quick video. Alright, now I don't know how long it's going to be, but it just sort of like hit me right now. I'm just going over the news. I've been a little bit behind. I had a little bit of a vacation this past weekend, and I just took a little bit of a break from politics. I mean, aside from just watching a little bit of the news, but not really wanting to do like a follow-up video to what I saw and, bringing it to you guys. But, I know some people may have heard of it, or some people may have not heard of it, but, I think at the beginning of the month, in June or late May, there was the Virginia beach shooting, and there was a guy, he was some sort of an AR or AK or something, and he basically he used a long rifle, a weapon. I'm not going to say the evil assault weapon. I'm going to say he used a long rifle because that's what it was. All right, it wasn't if it was a shotgun, it'd be a shotgun. If it was a pistol, it'd be a pistol. Okay, but he used a long rifle. Happened to be some sort of AR platform style rifle, and he killed a few people. All right. I think it was like under 10 or something. Under 10 people he actually shot up and killed. And I think, yeah. So, anyways, on June 6th, President Trump, he's in England. He's in London, England, for the 75th commemoration of D-Day, the Normandy invasion of France back in 1944. So that's another thing you guys could go look up. Cool history fact and crazy, interesting part of history to really look into. But anyways, he's over there and he goes on Piers Morgan's show. Now, if you don't know who Piers Morgan is, go on YouTube. He used to have a show on CNN here in America, but I forget exactly what happened, but he basically just got booted out and he ended up going back to England, and I think he went back to the BBC, and he was doing the news there. So his whole little show, but in CNN in America got canceled a few years back. But if you look up Piers Morgan gun control debates, he's debated Alex Jones, he's debated what's his face, Ted Nugent, who is a big NRA supporter and an NRA, just a big NRA guy, a big hunter. And a musician, of course, and he's just a Piers Morgan. He's an anti-gun guy. He raises all the questions. Why do we need assault weapons? Why do we need 30-round magazines? Why do we need these weapons of war? That's what they love to say. They love to say weapons of war, when in fact they are not weapons of war. They've never been to a war. I own two rifles that could be necessarily called weapons of war, and they're well over 50, 60, 70 years old, okay? Alright, I have a bolt-action rifle that was made in 1942, okay? And that thing's well over 75 years old, and, it's like, that is a weapon of war. That weapon was made for war, okay? So, anyways, Piers Morgan is talking to President Trump in England, and he brings up the Virginia beach shooting, and the man either used the suppressor or had a suppressor in his truck or car. It wasn't attached to the weapon. Now, it's like the news says one thing and the news says another thing, but the point is that he had a suppressor, okay? And if you don't know what a suppressor is, or to the layman man, a silencer, which is the little cylinder thing that goes on the end of a gun that supposedly makes it really quiet, okay? Now, I'm not going to go into the dynamics of suppressors and how they work, but all you have to do is go to YouTube and just type in, how do suppressors work? And educate yourself on how a suppressor works, okay? So I'm not going to go into details and reinvent the wheel, because there's a bunch of videos out there of guys who actually bought them, who own them, who make them themselves, and who use them on their rifles for for either hunting purposes or for hearing purposes because their hearing is bad, what have you. Talk to those guys who own them. I'm here in California, and suppressors are illegal. Okay, illegal to make, buy. I mean, and that's even, to go through a quote-unquote process. If you could, you still couldn't do it. So just like buying a gun, going background checks and paying fees and all that stuff for the state, it doesn't matter. You cannot have a suppressor here in California. All right, with all the protocols and everything and background checks and fees you can pay, you cannot own a suppressor here in California. So anyways, so President Trump goes and Piers Morgan is asking him, would you consider banning, suppressors for, putting, like he banned the bump stocks for the Las Vegas shooting because the Las Vegas shooter supposedly used a bump stock. All right, and that'll be a video for another time. But basically, will President Trump do a ban on suppressors for, a ban on suppressors, buy, sell, make, or trade, or whatever, just like he did with the bump stocks? And President Trump basically said, well, no, I have to look into it. It's the decision and the thinking about it is on the table. So, basically, instead of just saying no, but he's basically just giving them he was giving Piers Morgan and all the other leftists lip service, saying that, well, it's not my intention right now, but it's sort of like it could be on the table for discussion. Okay. Now, if you go to the NFA, the national, or no, I think it's the ATF, the BATF or the NFA, a website where they do firearm crime statistics. Okay, the crimes done with suppressors are like close to non-existent. There was probably a case or two of suppressors actually being used out of the millions, and I'm talking millions of suppressors that are owned by law-abiding citizens, law-abiding Americans who live here in this country, who spend the money, who go through the background checks, who go through the waiting process, just to put basically a cylindrical can on the end of their rifle to make it sound a little less loud, okay? It doesn't completely dampen the sound like in the movies or in the games, but just to have that accessory, okay? So, Trump, and this is where I'm going to call Trump out on this one, okay? Because if he banned, bump stocks, which I feel are just a novelty item, it's just a stock to make it seem like your gun is going full auto, when in fact it is not. All right, to me, it's a gimmick. It's one of those crappy little gun gimmicks that, accessories that, like if you go to a video game convention or something, and they have like these aftermarket parts for your Xbox or your PlayStation or whatever, they're like, they're just like these really gimmicky parts. You don't really know if they work. It sounds crazy, it sounds cool, but it's just these little gimmick things, and then when you buy it, it's just a piece of crap. It doesn't really work that well, and it's not really meant for, like, oh, it turns your gun full auto. No, this is something. It's a novelty, honestly, for me. All right, and honestly, the banning of it doesn't really bother me, but it does, because if they ban one thing, it's going to be another. And sure enough, now the talks of suppressors are on the table. And so if Trump already put in the ban for bump stocks, for the whole, United States, what's to stop him from, putting up a ban for suppressors? And with these cases that are practically non-existent with suppressors, and there are more cases with automobile deaths via DUIs, or criminals who go on which happens here in California a lot. These police chases where just last month there was a woman who was driving an RV in LA, and she rammed into 2 cars. She had a dog, and right in the front passenger seat of the RV, she had a Labrador dog, and the dog jumped out, and it was crazy. It was so you had people who could possibly be killed with these things. You have people that are just these automobile accidents. There's blunt force battery, domestic abuse, like with baseball bats, kitchen knife stabbings. You got all these other crimes that are committed with blunt objects. And now they're talking about going after not even a fraction of a percentage of crimes that have been committed with a suppressor. It's like they've been watching too many Hollywood movies where they see the assassin using a suppressor, where he can kill somebody, no one will hear, and he gets away with it. Okay, they think it's like that, and it's like, oh, he used a suppressor, should we ban them all now? And if he considers trying to do this, I mean, even though the fact that I'll probably never own one in my life, it's like, why are you going to shun out the millions of Americans here who own suppressor or suppressors for their rifles, their pistols, their shotguns, and all they do is majority of the time, all I see people with suppressors do is just simply, A, to have fun with it, 2, a lot of them use it for hunting, and 3, if you're living in rural areas, your neighbor is maybe not even a mile away or something, and you're shooting, and you do a lot of shooting in your backyard. I've seen videos and heard stories where, neighbors will call the cops on their neighbor for shooting guns, and they think they have fully automatic weapons and all that stuff, and so the cops show up to their ranch or their house, whatever. Excuse me. And they, it just dampens the day. The cops have to investigate, but you get the pesky neighbors that just complain about everything. So what these guys do is they get a suppressor. It doesn't totally cancel out the noise, but it does it just enough to where your neighbor's not going to get bugged by it. You're not going to have that full-on cracking of a rifle. And if you've ever shot a gun, or if if you've never done it, I would highly encourage you to go and try to shoot one, just so that way you know how loud these things can get. All right, and they can get they're pretty loud. They can hurt your ears if you don't use any protection. Even a 22 caliber rifle, well, shooting it long enough, it'll hurt your ears. It'll dampen your ears. And I've shot guns for a whole couple hours where I forgot my ear protection, and my ears were just stinging, ringing, and everything for a couple days after. So the idea for a suppressor is not a bad idea, but you get these idiots, and you get who had a suppressor either on the gun, or they just simply found that he had it with him. They want to investigate this, and now it's like something else, another thing to ban because it sounds evil. It's just an accessory. Instead of going after the gun parts and the accessories for these weapons, go after the psychopaths themselves. Go after the gang members. Go after the domestic violent, fathers or mothers who use these either firearms or blunt objects, so that way you can get a grasp on controlling the actual problem. Because the suppressor doesn't just pick itself up and put it on the gun and gets used to commit a crime. The knife doesn't just go running around stabbing somebody. Human intent is what does this. And this is where common sense has to come. Like the liberals say they want common sense gun laws. Well, how about common sense, human reform, human, understanding the psychology of crazy human beings. Let's enforce that. Let's look into that. why people are running around shooting each other, stabbing each other, beating each other up, driving around recklessly into police chases, mental case issues, mental health issues, things of that nature. Dive into that. But no, let's start banning the suppressors. First is the bump stocks, not the suppressors. Now, and here in California, starting June 1st, or June, no, is it June 1st? Yeah, June 1st. June 1st, we're already going to be having background checks for ammunition, where our information is going to have to be entered into a database. We pay $1 when we go and we buy a box of ammunition. So if we buy a box of ammunition at Walmart and it's $7, it's $6, you have to spend an extra $1 to do a background check on it. And if you're in the system and the system's all screwed up or whatever, then it's a longer process. There's more money to pay just to go and buy ammunition. And so that's the problem. We have things like that going on. It's like we have some of the strictest gun laws here in this state, in this country, and it's just one little extra thing to either get money out of you or to make it a hindrance to buy ammunition or accessories for your guns. It's like instead of just banning the guns, they're just going after the little accessories. Because in California, it's like no front grips, no pistol grips, no flash hiders, no barrel shrouds. It's like all these little things they want to ban here in this state. It's like, for what? What is banning a flash hider gonna do? What is banning a foregrip? Being able to physically wrap your hand around the pistol grip of an AR or an AK. What the hell is that gonna do? What does that do? Does it make the shooter uncomfortable? No. I mean, the Columbine shooters went around with a shotgun and Tech 9 pistols, and they were going to use propane bombs to blow up the school. I didn't see no fucking assault rifles. I didn't see no AKs or ARs or any of these other battle rifles that they're talking about. I didn't see them using that. They were walking around with shotguns, handguns, a Tech 9 pistol that was semi-automatic. And they had propane bombs that they planned to blow the school up with. But see, the politicians and the media, they want to blow it out of proportion, and so they get President Trump to start, questioning it. Now, he said he's not going to do it. He said he's not going to, say, well, I'm going to definitely look into this, and we're going to see what's going to happen. No, he just was giving the lip service, saying, well, I'm going to look into it. Okay, we're going to look into it. And see, President Trump, he is a good president. He's keeping his word on a lot of things. He's doing good things for the economy and people from getting jobs, and that's great. With trade and all that stuff. Like he's working and he's trying since day one in office. He's been trying to get shit done. Okay. Now, he's from New York, and New York has some of the other strictest and dumbest gun laws, just like here in California. So, you go to New York. Now, he is a gun owner. I heard that he does own guns. I heard that he had a concealed carry license, and I believe he owns like a revolver or something like that for concealed carry purposes. But yeah, but he's not the type of gun owner to where he's willing to stand up for all guns, to where he's willing to stand up for the AR guys, the AK guys, the guys who believe in shooting that stuff, because he does seem like the type of New Yorker where he believes like, well, I believe you guys have your right to own guns, but when it comes to, ARs and AKs, because that wasn't his generation. His generation was shotguns and hunting rifles, and when he thinks of shooting, that's what his sons are pro Second Amendment, and they'll shoot ARs and they'll shoot AKs and whatever. But it's like that old man mentality that, because a lot of American hunters, there are some who just think, well, why do you need an AR-15? Why do you need an AK style rifle? All you need is your hunting rifle and your duck gun, and and you're good to go, because that's all I need. Why do I need all that stuff? And yet they're NRA, they're conservative, they feel like they're a part of the society, but yet when they don't support all guns and they only support certain types of guns, then it's like, well, we really don't care. If you're not all on the same page, you're either on the page or you're not. But there are some conservatives who are like that, where they believe, yeah, you have the right to own a gun, but those AR types and those, black rifles and those commie-looking guns, why do you need those things for? They're just, and that's where I think Trump falls into that category, because that's where he is. That's what his style is. Because he was the millionaire, building his empire and everything and doing everything he had to do, which is fine, And he had every right to go and buy a concealed carry, weapon, to have something on him, and it's probably just a revolver. He's an old school guy like that, and and that's fine. That's great. He's exercising his right to protect himself, but I don't see him believing like, oh, well, we need to protect suppressors or 30-round magazines or anything. And so that's where I am calling Trump out on that, for wanting to ban certain things, or at least bringing it to the table and talking about it. Now, if he doesn't do anything, then that's great. If he just says, well, it's just an accessory. Either the guy used it or not, it doesn't make a difference. The guy shot somebody up, shot people up, he killed them. Now instead of going after the guns, we have to go after, criminal elements. We have to go after these, disgruntled employees, these people in gangs. We just have to try to prevent it. But they make it seem like it's this. It is. They try and make it seem like it's an everyday thing. Like guns are just, killing people on a regular basis. When majority of the time it's just crime. It's black on black crime. It's gang violence. It's domestic abuse cases. It's things like that. And it's and the other thing is that it's not even all about just rifles. It's about handguns commit more of the crimes here in the United States than ARs or AKs do. Okay, and then when the guns that are used, that are AK style weapons, or that are AR style weapons, they're usually stolen guns, and they're used in gang violence. Okay, and I've seen Vice videos of the gangs in like Detroit and all that, and they're showing some of the black market guns that a lot of these guys buy and use. They're like AK style pistols. They got handguns. They got maybe a sawed-off shotgun. A bunch of bargain bin pistols. Nothing really that much, and they're all stolen. They got their serial numbers scraped off, and so they gotta, they have their little system that they use, and it's not like they just go to a gun store and say, oh, I want to buy this. They pass a background check, and then that's it. They walk out and then they commit a crime with it that day. A lot of the times there are videos of groups, maybe 5 or 6 gang members, just crashing into a gun store with a truck. Guys running in there, smashing the windows, stealing the ammunition, stealing as many guns as they can take, and taking as many as they can take, and many as they can hold in their hands. And so there's videos of guys doing that. So, this whole gun problem and everything, it's not a gun problem. It's a people problem. And this is something that needs to be addressed. And so when President Trump goes and puts it on the table and possibly thinks about banning a suppressor or suppressors, either from purchase or, makes the laws more stricter than what they already are to get suppressors, then this is where I will definitely be calling Trump out on it, because It's not right. It's just stupid. It is, playing with firearms accessories, and it's just another domino effect for these weapons, for these accessories for weapons. And it's just next thing you know, it's ammunition. Next thing you know, it's something else. And so I guess basically that's pretty much it, the rant. I always want to try and make a really small video, quick and to the point, but it's like there's just so much to really explain and tell you guys that whenever this stuff happens, it has to get out. It doesn't make the news. It just sort of is there, and it gets brushed over maybe a couple times, and it's forgotten. And so a lot of people really don't really talk about it too much. So I guess I'll just end the video right here. So yeah, so if you are a voter, and if you vote at all, any of these gun laws or any gun bans that might be happening in your state, make the right decision, vote, really do your research on it, and really keep up to date with all this stuff, because again, this stuff is getting out of hand with all the gun bans and everything, and gun accessory bans, background checks and all this stuff. It's like we have so many laws on the books, it's not even worth trying to look into more gun laws. It's time to start looking into mental health issues, domestic abuse issues, things of that nature, because it's getting ridiculous. The more bans you're going to do, it's like, does it really stop crime? No, it doesn't. It just turns normal American citizens into criminals, because whenever you ban something, people want to know what it is, and they want to look into it, and they want to see what's the big deal about banning this thing, banning something of this, of this nature, of this caliber, I should say, and it's happened before. I mean, look at back in the 1920s when they had the Prohibition era. People, when people found out they couldn't have liquor, it was all right for, maybe a couple days or a couple months or whatever, but eventually people wanted to have a drink, and, people wanted it even more. Booze was expensive, but, it turned into a market. It turned into a market to where people found out that, I can make a quick buck by selling booze, making booze, and what have you. Moonshiners in the South, and, you had the, Al Capone and everybody, shooting each other up, gang wars going on for alcohol, because it was a $1 million business. Because the government said, you can't have this, and people said, why not? I want this. And then, Prohibition happens, and then you got more blood, you got more violence, you got more everything. So when you want to start banning guns and gun accessories, you're just going to turn American citizens who said, I used to be able to get this, but now the government says no. Well, screw that. I'm going to go get it. I don't care. Why should the government tell me something I can't have when it doesn't do anything? It's just there. It's just a part. It's just ammunition. It's just an accessory. People are still going to want to go and get it. So if you start banning guns and more accessories more and more year by year, then that's it, man. You're asking for conservatives to just go and buy guns, throw it in their safes, buy it from another state that doesn't have, these crappy laws. Go to that state, buy it, bring it back, and throw it in their safe. Because they're not the type to where they're going to just, go and get it and then take it to the range and then start shooting with it because they know that it's banned and illegal. They're just going to have it just to have it. That's it. So anyways, really look into this. Go and check out and see how a suppressor works. Even guns in general. How ARs work, how AK-47s work, SKSs, anything about firearms. If you're kind of like on the fence about it, really go to, like Iraq Veteran 8888. There's Tim from the Military Arms Channel. They do in-depth, knowledge and look into, how guns work, how suppressors work, everything about firearms that you want to know. And, it's just really, really think about it before you just start going and listening to the mainstream media and, you know, waiting for them to tell you, well, I should really do this. You know, I should, ban these things because they look scary and they sound scary. Really do your research on it and really understand what, you know, the real reason behind owning an AR and an AK and all that stuff. All right. So anyways, sorry the video went off for like 30 freaking minutes, but it's like, oh man, it's just when you get to these topics, it's a lot to discuss, and it's a big issue, because the more and more of the domino effect that happens, eventually all of it's going to fall down and we'll be left with nothing, and essentially we'll all be criminals who are gun owners if we don't give up our guns. So anyways, yeah, so like, subscribe, share, dislike, whatever you want. You know, just get the video out there. I'm not really caring about subscribers or anything. I'm not like demanding it, but it's like I'd rather just have people share the video, like it, you know, just so that way it gets shown up. So anyways, you guys, till the next video, peace.